Hi guys, welcome to another video. It's 𝗙𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀 here. Thanks for coming. First of all, thanks for all the birthday wishes. I really appreciated it. As always, for the subscribers, thank you so much for the love and the time. Today's video is something that I landed on, and my god, it is something that we need to start understanding and realizing. But before I say anything in the video, watch these clips, come back, and let's talk about it.
Tourists from Europe are being kicked out of South Africa. Let's quickly break it down. 2.6 million tourists visited South Africa before the pandemic started. 77%, about 2 million, were European and North American, basically from the USA and Canada. Most tourists who come to South Africa are granted 90-day visas. These visas can be extended should the tourist wish to stay longer. However, on the 21st of December 2023, Home Affairs released a statement that said if your tourist visa is not extended by the 23rd of February, you need to get out of the country before the end of the month. The tourism industry is absolutely freaking out about this. But for the first time in my life, I think I'm actually on the side of Home Affairs on this one. And I'm going to tell you why. Based on my personal experience of working for a German just last year, the experience left me wondering if the German people who come here are the equivalent of a Nigerian crime syndicate, but only at a corporate level. He starts businesses here in South Africa, which as far as I know, he's not allowed to do. But he uses a woman as a human shield when things start to go a bit tough. None of these businesses that he starts is registered in his name. In fact, they even started a fake law firm, which wasn't even registered as a business, nor was it registered at the 𝗙𝗶𝗀𝗲𝗏. Two of the pensioners who worked for them suffered tremendous financial loss of almost 700,000 Rand in unpaid salaries and commission. He pretended to buy not one, but two properties, which he never delivered on. He moved in before registration of these properties took place. He caused about 900,000 Rands worth of damage to the first seller and almost 400,000 Rands worth of damage to the second seller, causing only 4 South Africans that I know of between 2 and 2.5 million Rands worth of damage. He has a motto that South Africans are South African weak, meaning that you can steal from them, you can damage them, you can harm them in any way you want, and we'll just take it on the chin. We are too nice to take action. The problem with a guy like this is that the only reason he came to South Africa was not his love for the people. He came here because he thought that this is a lawless country, and this is where you come when you want to get away with bad things. And so far, he's right. There's only been inconveniences, but no action has been taken against him. I say send him back first.
Yes, it's true. Tourists from America and Europe are being kicked out of South Africa. For me personally, the biggest thing that is making me happy about this is because for a very long time, the image of illegal immigrants, mostly in South Africa, was always this black people from Mozambique, from Zimbabwe, from Nigeria. So it was associated with this person who crossed the border illegally and is running away from the police. It wasn't imagined as this thing where someone lands in Cape Town International Airport on a visiting visa, and when it's time for them to leave, they don't leave. And what had happened during COVID was that the law was relaxed a bit. So what happens is that if you're there on a visiting visa, when your time lapsed, you could go there and extend it, you know. So because there was like a restriction of movement of people and all of that. But now that is coming to an end. Things are going back to normal, just like it's done everywhere else in the world, where if you go to a country on a visiting visa, when your time is up, you need to go, or you need to go there and kind of like provide a reason as to why you need to go to continue staying in that country, right? So by the end of February, this month, in a few days, that everyone who hasn't extended their visiting visa needs to leave. And what had happened was that many people are visiting Africa right now from the West, from America, from Europe, from Asia, from the Middle East, and they are loving it. They're finding out that Africa is actually very nice. The weather is great, the people are great, the food, the culture, everything that they've been told about Africa is not as they seemed. And when they go there, they realize this is actually a very nice place for business as well. So what people do is that instead of doing it the right way, they just realize that you can get there and you can, you know, enjoy the whole place and travel, go to Kruger, see the place, and when it's time for you to leave, you just don't do anything about it. And no one is going to come and find you or hunt you using that loophole that was being used during COVID. But now that is coming to an end. And the minister, 𝗙𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, is saying that you have end of February. If you haven't extended your stay, you will be illegal in the country and you can be arrested. And a lot of other problems are going to come your way. So it's just nice now to see that the image of an illegal immigrant can be associated with Caucasian people, Asian people, Middle Eastern people, everyone can be an illegal immigrant in South Africa. It's not just people who are coming from Zimbabwe and our other neighboring countries. So it's interesting to see that, you know, when you're following the law, people who are in South Africa illegally is not just people from Nigeria, people from Zimbabwe. There's a lot of people who come from Europe, a lot of people who are coming from the Middle East, a lot of people who are coming from America, the United States. So this thing is not associated with any skin color or with any region of the world. It's a global problem and it happens to everybody. You can see a lot of them posting videos here on TikTok and online, complaining that, you know, they didn't think this was gonna happen. But yeah, it's the law. The law is the law. It applies to everybody everywhere.
As you've seen in the video, that's what's going on in South Africa. And it's not just South Africa as a country itself, but it's like, I think it's been happening in other African countries, but it's just not spoken about. Majority of the time, you're going to see how African migrants are being chased away from the European countries, how they have to pass through a lot of things for them to access the West. And it's something I've seen countless times. I've seen a lot of news that's really sad. I've seen how African migrants have been mistreated, even in their own continents when they're crossing borders. Like, it's really a bad situation and it's not okay. I don't know why we are in this era where we are still doing the same thing, but I can try to understand as an African, because if you lack opportunities in your African country, you are actually forced to leave your country to go and look for greener pastures. So that's the image that a lot of people have when it comes to someone being illegal. You must have come from Africa, you know, struggling. And here we have South Africa, where there's like majority of white people or majority of different kinds of people, the Asians, the whites, the Dutch, like different kinds of people. And I think it's the fast and easiest way for white people to disguise themselves. I once talked about a video where some lady talked about how there was a lot of illegal immigrants, white people in South Africa, and they were actually having jobs. Literally, they were working. And, you know, it's not something that we think about a lot as African people, but it's something that is happening. So seeing that South Africa is now starting to realize, you know what, actually the people that are illegal are not just African people. It's not just our neighbors from the African continent. It's also these people that come in, like, it's so funny because they do come in good intentions of being tourists, because a lot of people don't really know, even in 2024, how Africa is, how we live. Most people still think we live in huts. Most people don't know we have water, electricity. Like, the only thing they think we have is trees, animals as pets, and the craziest things ever. Anyway, that's another thing for another day. But like, yeah, most people do think that. So when they come with like perceptions of, oh, Africa is going to be this kind of a place, and then they are shocked by what they find in the continent, where they are able to access a lot of luxury things at a cheaper price, because the money from the West is not equivalent to the money in Africa or in the African continent as a whole. So that gives a lot of advantage for you to even enjoy to the maximum. And also, when I'm to say in my country, Uganda, I see a lot of white people, Asians, I see Arabs, I see, you know, these people, Indians in the country, but it has never crossed my head ever that these people could, you know, be illegal. Like, I never ever had that thought in my head. And I think majority of us have that. Like, we always assume if they were able to get on a flight and come into the country, they must be able to sustain themselves and they are living a better life. So these are things that we never looked into, and it's just in these times where I think it's revolution times and everything is coming out to light. Like, every time I see this now, I get to question in my head, like, when I see these people in the country, are they legal? Do they have the proper documents they need for them to be in the country? Especially now, like, talking about South Africa, where I hear people say it's a lot of xenophobic in the country, and it's mostly towards the African people themselves, where South Africans feel like the African people are the worst that are coming in and taking the opportunities away from South African, you know, people. And I don't think it's entirely true, because I did a video previously of the illegal white people in South Africa, and they were dealing in big money, big thousands of dollars, big thousands of rands. And I don't think that's like something that you should not look into and criticize someone who is probably having a small shop or a small market. Okay, I'm not like supporting that it's okay to have illegal people in your country and for you to feel like you don't have opportunities. I do not support that. But the thing is, when it comes to people that are coming in the country and they are dealing with millions of money that they are not even supposed to be holding because they are illegal in your country, I think that's where the energy needs to be at. And considering that South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, I would say also like Tanzania, where there's a lot of like Tanzania, the Arab culture thing and the people, it's the easiest places for the white people to come and disguise themselves, and you are not able to question if they are legal or not. But then let's not also forget that when African people, when the black people are in the West or in the Europe countries, they are constantly asked documents to prove if they are supposed to be in the countries. And I saw some people say, oh, why are you chasing away the white people? They are good at tourism funds. Like they are the best people that come for tourism in Africa. They spend a lot of money. They give a lot of money. And after all, they are spending the money in Africa, even if they are illegal. Like I saw such comments and I was asking myself in my head, like, if you are an African and you go to the Western countries and they stop you when you don't have the documents, would you be able to survive and stay in the country? As well as if you are illegal in the Western countries, are you able to just go and start working as well as work in millions of dollars? Like the way these people are coming in as tourists and then they love the country because, I mean, Africa is amazing. You cannot come here and want to leave immediately. Like I say that with a lot of love and passion. Like a lot of people, when they come to visit, they don't want to leave because it's just so peaceful. Okay, I'm not saying that there is no problem. There is, but it's not entirely for the whole continent. So when these people come, when they go to safaris, when they see that they can access things freely, not like freely without money, but when they can access places and live a luxury life that they never had in their European countries or American countries, they don't want to leave. And no one is going to stop you as a white person to ask you for your document. I think maybe it can happen to a black person somehow, which I don't think so, because it's rarely, like in my country, it's rarely for someone to come stop you and ask for your documents unless you're driving and they stop you to ask for your driver's license, or when they come to your business and they want to see the business license. Like it's not so much strong, I would say, in my country. I don't know about the other African countries, but the thing is, what I'm trying to say, it's rarely for a white person to be stopped, to be asked if they have the right documents to be in any African country. So I think it's very important that we start to realize that an illegal person doesn't have to be a black face or a black person who has to suffer to cross borders and go to be legal. Some choose to come and they enjoy the benefits and decide and literally choose to stay because there are no laws that are going to come and attack them or affect them in any way, just like how it's happening now. So when South Africa wakes up and they're like, you know what? We have a lot of you here and it's not even about color right now. We need to see your documents, whether you're white, you're black, you're whatever, Indian, Asian, whatever you are. We need to see the documents that you carry if they allow you to be in the country, because it's also frustrating that every time something negative has to happen, let's say in South Africa, it always has to be attacking the fellow African people. Like it's just not okay. And I would say as African people, we should be more welcoming to other African people when they come into our countries. I think Malema is very strong on that, on how, why would you chase a Ugandan when you have a Dutch descendant who is handling big runs of money in your country and not see that as a problem, but see a Ugandan having a small market and see that as a problem? It just doesn't add up, because at the end of the day, my money as someone from the Ugandan country, in your country, the money is still going to stay in the continent. To these people, they get the money and they just enjoy and take it back probably to their own countries as usual. And it's just not okay. Like I don't really support that we tear ourselves down and like we always assume it's always us who are illegal in, other countries. It's just so important that we do understand everything that is negative doesn't have to be on a black face, an African face. It can be also on these other groups of people. We have a lot of Indians in Uganda, a lot of Chinese. No one stops them to ask them if they have the documents, but how are we sure that they even have the documents? How are we sure they are even allowed to have these jobs and set up these businesses in the country? Like, those are things that we should be asking ourselves. Like, are you able as an African to go in the West and just set up a business or just be there illegal and do whatever you want to do without any consequences? If we are not able to do that, I think it should also reciprocate to the white people when they are in the continent, where we should also take it in our own hands. I saw a video where South Africans were squeezing. They were not from the law, they were non-policemen, but they were just, being as cautious as they were saying, to stay vigilant, as they were talking about. And they harassed this person. It was an African person from a different country, and they were asking this person about the documents. Do you have what it takes to work from here? Like all those things. But do you do the same things when it comes to the white people? Do you go to them and ask for the documents from them? You give the same energy that you give to your fellow African people. Oh, it's more like we are able to squeeze the African people, so let's do that, than we are to these other groups of people because they have money, they can somehow do anything or something to us. Is that how it's done? Is that how we function as African people? So yeah, I really applaud South Africa for this. I think it's very important, especially for the countries that have a lot of white people. I think it's very important that those countries start having surveys and, asking for information, asking for things that need to be asked, the way we are asked and interrogated when we go to these Western countries, Arab nations, European countries. I think it's very important. Yeah, guys, let me know what you think about this. I love the progress. I like this. I'm not saying they should be chased away because, of course, the world is intertwined. We are connected in some way or the other. But the thing is, can you at least be legal? Like, be legal, come do the tourism and do whatever you have to do, but stay legal. If your time is up, go fix it or go back home. As simple as that. We should be also vigilant on them as much as we are on other African people. The way we are so much vigilant when we see Nigerians in Uganda, people are like, oh, Nigerians are this or this. When you see a Kenyan, you're like, oh, Kenyans are this. But when you see a white person, you're like, yeah, they have money. They must not have issues at all because they were able to come in the continent. Then it's positive and you have no issues on them. As an African person, you can't even question at all if they are legal or not. They must just be legal. It just has to be positive. As simple as that. But when you see another African, that's when the line is drawn like, are you supposed to be here? Like, do you have the stuff that allow you to be here? Like, it's just crazy. So I really appreciate that African countries are starting to understand and know that not everyone that is legal has to skip a gate and pass the ocean and cross borders in illegal ways for them to be illegal in your country. Some others come freely in flights, peacefully with visas, and choose to stay illegally in your countries. So stick with that. Also, I would like to give some shout outs to the super thanks. Thank you guys for this. It means a lot. We have Joska75, Mandy B, thank you so much. We have Sahaka. Oh my god, I'm so sorry if it's not the right pronunciation. We have Master Thrira. I have D Dixon. Thank you guys. It's a lot of you. I have Orin Potter. I have Latibu. There's William Harrell. Guys, thank you so much for the super thanks. It means a lot. It really, really helps for the channel as well to me. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.